Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women in Motorsports program, F1 Academy. They are back. Big race weekend at the Dutch Grand Prix. Isabella Robusto, another top 5 finish, looking at ending the season strong. Plus Hailie Deegan, her season at Indy NXT is all wrapped up. With me, we have Ben Schneider from Grid Encore and LastCar.info. We have Emily Sharp rocking the Women in Motorsports t-shirt. And I'm Joe Samaniego. Big thank you to our Patreon investors, Colin, Michelle, Robin, David, and Matthew for investing into Grid Network, helping us get to the track. Of course, Portland. We had Nicole out there at the track earlier this year, myself a few weeks ago for NASCAR, but we want to get bigger and better for 2026. So link to our Patreon page where you can invest in us. Plus, you can do a one-time investment through Buy Me a Coffee or YouTube Super Chat. That said, let's get started with F1 Academy. The Formula One F1 Academy season has returned back to action with the Dutch Grand Prix race weekend. We had a great crowd for both races. Of course, the first race, everyone stuck around after all the F1 action, and then the second race, good crowd coming in early before all the action on Sunday. We had essentially what a weekend where we had two different winners. The points lead was 4 races, still remains, some will say, tight, mainly in the control of Doriane Pin. She has a 20-point lead over Maya Weug, 34-point lead over Chloe Chambers, so unfortunately was unable to start that second race. So any attempt to gain ground, she's had several good races this year. She just lost valuable points that weekend. In total, when you look at the remaining races, 78 points on the line. Chloe Chambers, there's only 4 races left with that 34-point gap lead. Emily did miss in the second race at Zandvoort, cost Chloe the championship.
Yeah, Joe, and I think this just to kick things off immediately, this race weekend just cements that the F1 Academy Championship is the tightest and most exciting motorsports championship going on right now. I mean, I'm happy to eat crow after the last Women in Motorsports program where I was recapping Maya's disastrous outing at Montreal and saying like it's over for her, and then she comes back with a really strong podium finish and then wins the second race after putting it in pole. So the fight is closer than ever. And to your point, Chloe Chambers not being able to participate in the second race in Zandvoort was just championship altering. It really put her back, and she came off from her first win of the season in the third Montreal race, and felt like, oh my gosh, this momentum was carrying, and has really been, at least for me, my dark horse in this championship hunt between Doriane and Amaya. And she was 20 points behind Doriane after Montreal, and now it's just completely altered her championship hunt. Of course, we have 2 more rounds to go in Singapore and Las Vegas. And last year in Singapore, she really showed some great grit to come back from P11 to finish in P8 in the second race. So she knows how to get some overtaking done. So I think the fight is very much still on, but completely unfortunate that she wasn't even able to start the race. I believe she may have gotten the car started a bit, but then had to push it back into pit lane. If she wasn't even able to get the car started at all, so just super devastating. You could see the cameras on her and how upsetting it was that her fate was completely out of her own hands, and she couldn't even take it and get some fighting done on track. So the good news is Vegas is the great equalizer. No one has raced there before, so she will have a good opportunity to potentially make things happen. But at this point, I think she's still on track for a top 3 finish in the championship. But um, anything's possible. It's a tight fight between Dorian and Maya, but I don't know if Chloe is still going to be that much in contention still to win the overall championship.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add to that. I think, unfortunately, this is kind of one more mulligan than she had to use, so to speak, going up against Doriane Pin in particular. And quite honestly, just looking at the standings here, Doriane only has 1 finish worse than fourth. It was the first race of this weekend, where she finished in 6th, and was then able to respond with the podium in race 2. And Maya obviously had a great weekend, 3rd in race 1, and then winning the 2nd race. But it's hard to make up losing out 25 points to Maya Weug for Chloe Chambers, with not even getting to start the race there. So she could still be in contention for 2nd, but even thinking back to Maya's struggles that she had in Canada, I think Doriane Pin has been virtually flawless all year, in terms of at least being able to run up front and be in contention and be in the mix. She hasn't had to use her mulligan yet, so to speak. I think even Maya is going to need that to come to Doriane. Maybe she'll have a mechanical issue or some sort of incident in Vegas that'll bring her back into a championship fight. But I think it's right now kind of a stretch to even still put her up there in the mix there. I think Doriane maybe doesn't have one hand on the championship just yet, but it is certainly hers to lose at this point. And looking at Chloe Chambers being a further handful of points even behind where Maya Weug is right now, definitely I think a stretch to continue to put her in that fight here. I think it's certainly a 2-driver race at this point. We talk about all the time in this show, mathematical contention for a championship versus realistic contention for a championship. I think unfortunately missing that 2nd race might be the final nail in the coffin of Chloe Chambers' hopes of upsetting Doriane Pin for this title.
It seems that could be very much the case, that her championship effort coming to an end, because the next 2 rounds, of course, Singapore, race 1, race 2, Las Vegas. I mean, unless Doriane has like disastrous races, no points, crash, no points, Chloe Chambers delivers such an effort, it is going to be an uphill battle for her. Now, speaking about uphill battles, one of the things I think it's been really great to be following, Nina Gademan. My goodness, first race, starting the pole, Tina Haasman, her teammate, unfortunately crashed out on lap 2 after the 2 of them were on the front row. Nina Gademan, she was behind Tina Haasman in the points by 3 points in the F1 Academy standings until Saturday's race, where the 2 of them were in the front row, but she went on, and one of the big things, got a big win. Nina went on an emotional win. We saw, I know we were sharing on our Women in Motorsports chat, the emotional post from her winning in front of her home country, her birthday, when it looked like she was not going to be fit to race. She ends the race weekend 6th in the points, up 3 positions. And considering what she's been through, Nina has 1 win, 2 third-place finishes, only 2 finishes outside the points this year. One was at DNF. The other one, of course, that infamous first race where she was leading with 2 laps to go and then mechanical issues struck. So she's been up there, Ben, and this is her 2nd year in F1 Academy, and we know just about every driver, it's 2 years, they got to move on. How huge was this weekend for her and for her future?
Yeah, it was massive. It was absolutely massive. And Joe, I know I shared the link to that post in our chat and mentioned that it genuinely got me choked up just reading through it, and everything that she has had to fight through and work through to get to this point. And the heartbreak of race 1. I keep wanting to say the spring race, but you know what I mean. The first race of the weekend in the season opener this year, where she probably should have had that win. And had it so cruelly taken away from her due to mechanical issues through no fault of her own. And then going into this weekend and that injury that she's continuing to nurse and try to recover from, and originally getting declared unfit to race and then having some further checks done a few hours later, and then them reversing that decision and allowing her to take part and qualifying in 8th place, starting on the reverse grid pole and converting that to a win in race 1 on her birthday in her home country. I mean, what more could you ask for Nina Gademan there? Just a fantastic emotional weekend for her, and emotional victory, and just a fantastic result for her and for her career, like you were mentioning, Joe. This is something that I think is going to be a massive momentum and confidence boost for her, and a massive weight lifted off her shoulders. You could see how emotional she was, how emotional everybody was, I think, watching her on the podium. And I said this on the Encore show. Any other week, Leah Block getting her first podium of her career would have been the ultimate one shining moment, especially for those of us following this series here in the United States. But how could you not make Nina Gademan your top shining moment? I know we'll do our shining moments for this show at the end of the episode here today, but I think you don't have to wait till the end of the episode to know what mine is going to be. That was an absolutely incredible, could not be happier for Nina Gademan and her entire team.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to what you've said, Ben. At home, after she was initially not going to be able to race at all, it's her birthday. Nina Gademan, my girl, I've been wishing for a redemption moment for her since that race one. Again, to use your phrase, Ben, cruelly taken away from her with mechanical issues after she led that race after multiple restarts and dominated and nailed those restarts every single time. And just a great outing. It wasn't like, a similar situation happened to her and she was the benefactor with like the leader having mechanical issues and she like stepped in and took over the win. She held off Leah Block and Maya Woog. Like she won on the track. She had a gap the entire time and she got it done. And I think this was a really great moment for her own confidence, knowing that this is her final year in F1 Academy and gives her that confidence. And really that kind of legitimacy that she is someone that should be considered for whatever her next steps are into next year for a more dominant team, but for the rest of the season. And I think she can hopefully erase as best as she can the heartbreak that she had at the first race to be able to win at home. I mean, I agree with you. It was super emotional for me as well. It makes you so happy to see someone have that kind of moment. And she's in P6 currently in the overall championship hunt. I'm looking at it now. There is about a 12-point difference between her and Alicia Palmowski, who Alicia's had a really strong season as well, but anything's possible. So she could be climbing higher to kind of cement herself as the best of the rest within the next 4 races coming up. But just really awesome to see for her. I'm so happy um, for her, and a really great outing for Alpine this season. Obviously, with Abby last year, Alpine was the team to beat from the major teams backing the F1 Academy cars. But a great moment, probably the best moment, even including the F1 cars this year with those two drivers for Alpine in general. So um, just so happy and wonderful to see.
And maybe one of you can fill me in on what exactly the rule is, but just looking back at the results, because I thought she had mentioned this in her post, she was the wild card entry at Zandvoort last year in F1 Academy. So while this was her second time at Zandvoort in F1 Academy, this is still only her first full season. So I don't think the wild card entry counts as one of your 2 full seasons here. So if I'm reading that correctly, she might still be able to come back and do a second year in F1 Academy before she would be forced to move on to a different single-seater series. Is that correct?
I believe
I think
you
you're
are
correct. Yeah, I think I misspoke.
Okay, sure. No worries there. But that's just, yeah. So, but again, that gives her even more time to continue to build on this, and then we can see where it goes from there. But it's nonetheless a huge step forward for her in her career. And like I said, it's a highlight. I think, Emily, you said it best there, a highlight of the weekend, just not just with the return of F1 Academy from their summer break, but F1 in general. What more can you say about what Nina Gademan did this past weekend?
Yeah. When it comes to the wild card, I mean, that gave her a great opportunity there. And it looks like, from what I'm also pulling up to, it is correct. So she will have a second full season if she wants. That it does not count against her at all. So, but one of the big things I think for Nina Gademan, this is just a great effort by her and that team to just really rebound, get this win, and to be that close to Alicia Palmowski, who has had such a great season. We've been talking about how she's been sort of a surprise because everyone's talking about Doriane Pin, Maya Woog, Chloe Chambers, and then she's been up there a lot of potential with Singapore, which we know is very physical track on all the drivers. That's going to be an ultimate test. And then the high speeds of Las Vegas racing down the strip. It's going to be an exciting next 2 race weekends. For Maya Weug, this was a very exciting weekend. The second race was the big one for her. Pole took the win and now moves to second in the standings after Chloe Chambers' misfortune. She also scored the fastest lap too, so she earned the maximum number of points while Doriane Pin, third place finish in the second race. Her first race, 6th place, as you mentioned, Ben, one of her worst finishes of the year, but that's not bad considering if 6th place is your worst of the year, you're doing something really good. Could an aggressive Maya Weug, Emily, though, close the gap on Doriane Pin if she starts to race too conservative in the next 4 races?
Well, I think I think what Ben was saying earlier is I don't think Dorian has like 2 hands on the championship yet, but from what we've seen from her so far, she is going to continue to be aggressive. I really don't see a conservative approach coming from Dorian, who obviously we anticipated it to be a little bit closer of a fight last year with Abby pulling. But that did not happen. But to go through this exercise with you, I think this absolutely was what Maya Woog needed to shut up critics like me who is saying like it's over after her really just challenging race weekend in Canada. And the fact that she was just so dominant the entire weekend. I mean, she put it on pole, so obviously she started in 8th in the reverse grid race 1. For her to be able to climb back into a podium finishing position and then to just dominate the second race, that is absolutely what she needed, both points wise to stay in the hunt, but to also boost her confidence that she is this, gritty driver who's not going to give up, and just reset every race weekend, and not let the mistakes or mechanical errors keep her down from previous weekends. So I do think that Dorian will continue to improve her championship lead. She's finished in the points every race so far. I'm gonna pause so you two can just fact check me on that one. So I'm not saying unhinged things the entire episode today, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a miracle for Maya to have a instance where Dorian is not continuing to increase her points lead to close the gap a little bit. But it would be great and exciting to see. And regardless, I do still maintain that this championship hunt is just so exciting. And while I don't think the gap will close significantly enough for Dorian to really have a chance to win the championship overall, I do think that anything continues to still be possible, and it's worth for everyone to tune in and see this great fight unfold.
Yeah, it reminds me of a couple of years ago when we were talking about Alex Palou in IndyCar, or this year when we were talking any of the last 4 of the last 5 years talking about Alex Palou in IndyCar, to be quite honest. But 2023, especially, his worst finish of the year was 8th. And we were saying, if your worst finish of the year is still a top 10 where you're bringing home a good haul of points, then you're doing something right here. In this particular case for Doriane Pin, she's kind of the Alex Palou of F1 Academy right now. I'd say Maya Woog is kind of like the Pato Award. Like, they're still mathematically in the championship fight, like we were talking about during the first segment. But like I said, it is Doriane's championship to lose. She has not finished worse than 6th this year. Maya has not finished worse than 6th this year, aside from those 2 races in Montreal. And the 3rd race in Montreal was her 6th place finish, which she's had so far this season. So that weekend really, I think, put a damper on her championship fight, unfortunately. But like you said, Emily, this is a close, chaotic championship where you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Doriane Pin won a race a couple of just last year in Saudi Arabia, and then did an extra lap. They gave her a 30-second time penalty or whatever it was, one that I still think to this day was far too harsh, and I think impacted the rest of her championship fight. But that was a race where she took the checkered flag. We all thought that she had bagged whatever that is, 25 points. And then we find out after the race that the entire points haul from that race had been turned upside down. So like I said, it's very much possible that she could have a mechanical issue or she could get caught up in somebody else's incident not of her own doing, and then that brings Maya right back into this fight heading into the final round. But if she can continue to bring the car home and stand on the podium, doesn't even have to be in the middle. If she can just keep racking up these podium finishes, I don't really see a path forward for Maya Weug to close the championship to Doriane Pin. I think she's going to need some help in the form of misfortune coming across her championship rival.
That's what I'm thinking. She's going to need misfortune, need mistakes from Doriane Pin to go out there, make those efforts, and then Maya also has to be near flawless the next few race weekends. It's going to be very interesting to see how it's all going to shape up with the top 6 in the F1 Academy. All of them mathematically have a shot at the Drivers' Championship, but some of them, they're just about ready to be eliminated as soon as we get the first race of Singapore completed. One driver out of the championship hunt, Leah Block, who earned her first podium in race 1, third place finish. Or is it?
Second, yeah.
Second place.
It's second.
Second, yeah. Sorry.
Started third, but finished second, yes.
That was it. Great effort, her first podium, and been considering this accomplishment. We saw all the celebration online. We know her background, off-road racing, the Block family, of course, huge in motorsports. This is her second full season. Knowing that, this is such a different change from what she's used to, could this open more doors for her in the open wheel internationally, or maybe even the United States?
Yeah, Leah Block just needed one race weekend where she didn't have something stupid go wrong and take her out of contention, or didn't make a silly mistake on the track that threw away a good finish. She's always been capable of this. I think that she probably should have had at least 1 or 2 podiums by now. I'm thinking back to Singapore last year, where I think she came within a tenth of a second. I think Doriane was the one that had a 5-second penalty, and she finished like 5.1 seconds back off on the road. And then in Abu Dhabi, as we talked about when we were talking about the Netflix series and how they portrayed that weekend, she did finish third on the road, but she had a time penalty that took her all the way back to out of the points. So it's not like she even got to settle for 4th or 5th out of that. She lost all of the points, all that she would have picked up from that. And then you look back on the results and nobody really remembers the context. They just see that she didn't score any points. It kind of hurts your record there. You've got nothing to show for the strong run that you had. You just made one minor mistake that gave you a time penalty that sent you all the way to the back of the finishing cars there. So for her to finally get this result on the record here, to put together a complete race with no issues and convert that good starting spot from the reverse grid into a strong podium finish. I'm sure she would have loved to have one spot more, but again, I think even Leah Block fans have to give Nina Gademan that race weekend there. I mean, how could you not be so thrilled for her, like we were talking about earlier in this episode? So just a great weekend for both of them. Both of the top 2 finishers in race 1 have a lot to be smiling about based on everything that they've had to overcome to get to this point. In terms of what it means for Leah Block's future, like you said, Joe, this is her second full season, so we know that she's not going to be back in F1 Academy next year. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think she's got some rally connections still and here in the United States that she could fall back on. But if she wants to continue down the open wheel racing path, we'll see if Williams can continue to support her, or at least help her find a seat for 2026 in whatever series that may be. But I think regardless, she's proven that she's got talent behind the wheel of a race car. It's just going to be interesting to see where she ends up spending the next couple of years of her career and what path she really wants to commit to. Because if she really wants to commit to the open wheel racing world, then I think it would be good for her to stay in Europe and try to find another junior formula seat somewhere over there. But if she wants to come back to the States and continue to honor her late father, Ken Block's legacy here by taking up a career in rally, I think that would be great for her as well.
Yeah, Ben, I think you summed it up perfectly. And I mean, I agree with you. I'm so happy she can walk away from the end of her second full-time season with F1 Academy, knowing that she got at least one podium when she had many instances that she should have been in a podium finishing position, and either by mistake or unfortunate penalties took her out of the running for that. She has remained pretty active in rally and off-roading. And wherever whatever her path forward is, either as you've said, to continue to honor the legacy of her father and his impact into the rally sport, or if she wants to continue forward in open wheel racing, getting this podium and in a strong P2 finish, where she did get gain a spot from her starting position of P3 to end the race in P2. That was incredibly critical for her to have something to her name, to have an argument to continue to compete in this very specific type of discipline. So I think wherever her next phase in her motorsport career takes her, she can look back and know that she had some good moments in F1 Academy, and there's still 4 races to go. She managed to move up from P10 in the championship fight to P9. So there is a gap between her and the 8th position. So um, it will take some help for her to continue to climb up the championship ladder. But happy for her. Again, I agree with you, Ben. Had Nina Gademan not had the weekend that she did in that race, when Leah's P2 finish would have been my one shining moment, just because I'm so happy that she was able to kind of herself have a redemptive moment. I guess it was the weekend of redemption, because well, Lando Norris may not feel that way, but between Maya Woog's finish in Montreal, Nina Gademan's start of the season and being able to finish it at home, and then Leah Block's just kind of been plagued by these mistakes or penalties. Zandvoort was really a great weekend for the ladies out on track. So what a great just way to kind of close the bow up on that.
5 weeks till the next race at Singapore. Then we have the final round in Las Vegas. This championship, while it looks like Doriane Pin may have one hand on the championship, mistake here and there, my Weug, maybe even a Chloe Chambers comeback weekend, we have no idea if it will come down to the final race at Las Vegas for the championship. But we've talked a lot about how Doriane Pin, her worst finish, 6th place. So if she goes out there just again running towards the front, not making a mistake, could claim it. But Emily, we talked about how this feels like it's such a tight championship. Are you surprised by just the fact that with Doriane's consistency, it has not been a runaway compared to passing with Abby pulling, just running away with it?
Yes and no. I think that was the intention between bringing in the reverse grid format for race one, to give some of these slower cars an opportunity to pick up some points and make things more challenging for the drivers with the top speed, and forcing them to climb their way through the field. But I'm so happy. Sorry to Doriane. I'm so happy that it hasn't been a runaway season. Just because it makes things far more interesting for us fans to be watching, and it gives a moment for people to have like spotlight moments, like Ella Lloyd, who's had some great moments this season, and actually some great little battles on the track this past weekend with Doriane, with some really interesting places to attempt overtakes, and the Nina Gademans and Alicia Palmowski's. It's been really great to see that it hasn't been a runaway season where it's getting tied up in, round 5, like it had last year with Abby pulling. So again, I do think Doriane will continue to add to her championship lead. I don't foresee, unless something plagues her, like mechanical errors, like a crash out. But I do think it will continue to be a great championship fight between Maya Woog and Chloe Chambers and Alicia Palmowski to fight for those final 2 places, especially as we enter in to Singapore, where the weather element is always going to be such a taxing element of the race that they need to prepare for. And then, of course, Las Vegas, which I'm so excited that I'm going to be able to see in person. If they're overtaking, like in turn 3 in Zandvoort, I cannot wait to see what they do on that straightaway in Vegas. So it is going to be must watch racing for the remainder of the F1 Academy season.
Well, I think what we need is an F1 Academy playoff system, because imagine how much more emotion there would have been if Nina Gademan's victory had locked her into the championship four at Las Vegas in a couple of months' time here. That would have just been the cherry on top of her weekend there. But no, in all seriousness, of course, I think it speaks so highly of what we expected of Doriane Pin and how high our expectations were of her that we kind of thought with Abby Pulling moving on after winning a championship last year, but it would be her year to kind of do what Abby did and just win almost every race and, be the runaway champion elect, if you will. She hasn't quite done that. She's only won 3 races this year. Maya Weug has had 2 of them, and then we've had a couple of single race winners throughout the rest of the standings so far this season, which I think the parity, like you mentioned, Emily, is great for us as fans. We get to see more drivers experience those moments and celebrate on the top step of the podium and what that can mean for their futures and the rest of their careers. I think all of that's great. Obviously, if you're Doriane, I'm sure she would have loved to have a championship wrapped up by now. And I think I do think she is the most talented driver on the grid this year and the one with the brightest future. And dare I say, the one probably with the best chance of making it to Formula 2 or perhaps even Formula 1 one day if she continues down the open wheel path. Obviously, she's been great in sports cars as well. But, again, to Emily's point as well, I guess yes and no would kind of be my answer too. Of course, when you bring in any kind of reverse grid format to your series, you're going to have drivers who are more in the 6th to 8th place range getting opportunities to start on pole position and hold the rest of the field off those faster cars behind them and convert them to race victories, like we've seen a couple of times this year and just this past weekend with Nina. But at the same time, Doriane has been consistently up front, consistently in the mix, won multiple races, and as we said, maybe don't start engraving the trophy in her name just yet, but it is certainly her championship to lose if she goes out and just continues to perform how she has all year. She could have it clinched perhaps by the time we leave Singapore, if not be in a really good position to clinch it after race 1 in Las Vegas. So, we'll see if the championship goes down all the way to the checkered flag in race 2. I have a feeling Doriane will clinch it at some point, but the fact that she hasn't clinched it already does speak to the fact that it has been a little bit closer and not as much of a runaway as it was last year with Abby Pulling.
Yeah, the championship is all going to be coming down to the next few weekends, and of course we'll be recapping and previewing F1 Academy throughout 2025 as they close their season out. Ben, Indy NXT, they just wrapped up their season. Of course, we know when it comes to Indy NXT, they were at Nashville to close their season out. Season for Hailie Deegan ended with her finishing 14th in the final standings, unable to secure a top 10 finish, but she did have one 11th, 12th, and 13th place finish in the season. And really, if you look at after Laguna Seca, she would have had a top 15 finish, but mechanical issues at Portland robbed her of that. So a streak of top 15 finishes was not there for her. Emily, I'll start with you on this question. Does this indicate that despite being near the end of the season, things maybe were starting to click between Hailie Deegan and the team?
Definitely. It made me sad that the IndyCar season and the Indy Next season were coming to an end because it felt like, to your point, Joe, she was getting into a rhythm with her and her team, and she equaled her career best qualifying position in Indy Next, starting in 10th at Nashville, and then for her to finish 13th on the lead lap, it was wonderful to see, and it ticked all of the boxes of what we've been saying this season of what she needed to go out there and do, like finish the race, stay out of trouble, um, stay on the lead lap, keep the gap manageable between the car in front of you. And of course, she's been to Nashville before, and between the Truck Series and Xfinity, her highest finished was like in the mid 20s, or she was taken out, unfortunately. So for her to finish 13th in her first season ever in open wheel racing, um I hope it's a really great confidence boost, but I'm sad for her and her team that she was getting some great momentum here at the end of the season. And now it comes to an end and she has this big off season. And um, of course, we know she'll be back. I believe we know she'll be back next year, so she can kind of continue to pick things up and pick up where she left off. But the off season is long in IndyCar, as we've talked about. So I really hope this has given her confidence, and hopefully she can kind of, find some great qualifying pace and just kind of continue with what she did in Nashville specifically into next year.
Yeah, I mean, again, we knew that it was going to be a struggle for her for much of a year, making such a big transition from what she was used to racing stock cars to coming over to the open wheel racing ladder. I will say this about Hailie Deegan: she did not have a single DNF the entire year. She was running at the finish in every one of her races. That is no small accomplishment for a rookie in a series like this, in such a different type of vehicle like this compared to what she has been used to the last several years. So the fact that she was able to keep the car in one piece the entire season, I think, is something that she can take away from this and be proud of. Having said that, of course, the results were not really there for her in terms of competing for even top tens or top fives, let alone race victories or podiums. But I think there is something that to be said about what Emily just mentioned about the momentum and steps forward that she was taking towards the end of the year, perhaps coincidentally or not, with the opportunity to have more ovals on the schedule in the back half of the season. We saw that obviously with Jimmy Johnson when he was making the transition over. He was a lot stronger on the ovals than the road courses, and I think Deegan's pace, at least, maybe not as much in terms of the results, not able to get into the top 10, but qualifying in and around there and being a little bit closer to the main pack than she was on some of the road and street courses. So if she does come back for season two, or for a second season in Indy NXT, and I hope that she does, because I hope that she can get a chance to go to a lot of these tracks for a second time and use that experience and try to take another step forward. I would hope that you could see some top tens, maybe even top fives for her next season. But as for this year, it's unfortunate to say in a season where she didn't even get a single top 10, but I think that was almost to be expected given where she was in NASCAR the last several years, and then coming over to make such a big transition to a brand new series like Indy NXT. Year one was just going to be all about, learning the tracks, learning the cars, and running all the laps, which, as I just said, she was able to do. She didn't have an early retirement or, a lap one crash take her out and then lose her entire race weekend. She was running at the finish in all of these races, and I think she can take away a lot of positives from that.
A lot of positives from that. And of course, along with 2026, we know Miles Rowe is going to be back at Indy NXT. Has to be one of the championship favorites. Anticipating Hailie Deegan to come back. The deal between HMD, Deegan, it was announced late in 2024. I think got us a bit by surprise, even though we had seen her at tracks. There was a rumor swirling. With the full season done and most likely back, would this help her Ben in being able to just focus the entire offseason, which started essentially last Sunday, to the first race and just getting that goal of more top tens in 2026?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what she has planned this offseason. I know she said at the end of her last race vlog she just posted, coming from NASCAR, there's such pomp and circumstance around the championship 4 and championship weekend. It feels like, and you're racing in November, it feels like the last race, the championship race weekend. In this particular series, racing the last weekend in August, you feel like you've still got a couple of months left to go in the year. She said it didn't really feel like the finale or anything, which was an interesting perspective for her. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope that she's back. I imagine that if she was, serious about a transition like this, that she would hopefully get the opportunity to run 2 or 3 seasons before deciding if this is a path she wants to go down for the rest of her career, or if she wants to come back to stock cars or off-road or a different venture. So I hope we get to see her in an HMD car again for a second season. I don't know if that's been 100% confirmed or not, but I would hope, like I said, that she's got something in the works where she can continue to build off of this for next year. And if she does, then yeah, I would certainly say top 10. Like I said, top 10s, maybe even top 5 should be a goal for her going into 26.
You're right, Ben. It has not officially been confirmed with HMD to her to return next year, but I agree with you. I hope she does return, especially because her finishing 13th and like for it being her first season and for her to like be able she did qualify in 10th and she like held it together, and to my knowledge I don't recall any major mistakes this season where she was involved in a wreck or like just silly major mistakes that you would anticipate from a rookie who's never done open wheel racing on this platform before. So I think she really did show like great signs to have, a great season next year or the years to come. But for that to be achievable, I do think that she needs to stay with it in a consistent basis and not jump from one racing series to another if open wheel truly is her goal. If she's just kind of looking to keep her career alive and Indy Next was the way to do it, then respect to her if her ultimate goal is to get back to stock car racing. But I agree with you, Ben. I really do think top 10s should be her goal, and I think that is achievable. But looking ahead to next year, she really needs to kind of find the pace within the car and put herself in a position to finish in the top 10. She was plagued this season by starting in the back of the field, and when you're learning how to manage an open wheel Indy Next car, you're not really thinking about like how can I overtake. You're thinking about how can I keep this thing on track, especially when you go places to Nashville, where it is notorious for being slippy depending on where you are on the track. And we saw many IndyCar drivers learning the hard way not to go too high or too low in those instances. So I think she, again, I'm so sad for her and her team that it came to an end this year for her, because I really think that she was kind of making some strides in the right direction. So looking ahead, I really hope she does come back to Indy next year and continues to make great strides. And who knows? To your point, Ben, if she has a great qualifying, and not even necessarily at a track that she's been at before through her truck series or Xfinity, if she has a great qualifying, she might be able to end in a P5 position. So um, I think she had a solid year. She stayed out of trouble. She was slow, but I think she showed some great indications of what could come if she continues to get an opportunity from HMD Motorsports.
Yeah, I feel especially some of those races, if you have a great qualifying effort and it doesn't get too crazy, you're bound to finish at that position. If you have something better, you could even go out there and get that win. It's just one of those deals where second season, if assuming she's going to be back, I think it'll be a great opportunity to see how much progress and to have an entire offseason just focusing on that, getting ready for next season will be really great because we know championships are starting to come down to it. The last few months of racing, this include the ARCA Menard series, Emily, where still Isabella is in the hunt.
Yeah, Joe. Let's talk about Arkham Menards because, to Ben's point, it's been a while since we were all together. So, the Arkham Menards series will have 4 races left, with starting with Bristol next weekend. Isabella Robusto, she's currently 4th in the points, and among the top 5 drivers still in the mathematical contention for the championship. And as we know, she's had some really great moments of the season so far. She has a streak of top 5 finishes going for her so far this season. And so, Ben, coming to you after Bristol next weekend, could Isabella still be in the championship hunt?
Well, again, to our point, what we were talking about earlier in F1 Academy, she might be in mathematical contention for the championship. And again, that's assuming that we have full field sizes here in the ARCA Menard Series, which isn't always a guarantee either. So, a lot of times that those mathematics depend on how many cars show up to the race weekend. I think the championship is pretty much set at this point for Brendan Queen. He's had a fantastic year. He's one of the best drivers driving one of the best cars, that Pinnacle number 28, that along with the Gibbs 18 has been just unbeatable at times this year. He's got a 42-point lead over LeVar Scott right now, who's, had 2 second place finishes in the last 3 races, is still trying to knock on the door that first win. Hopefully he can pull that off before the end of the season. But, if he goes out and starts a win streak of his own, even then, Brendan Queen's going to have at least 1, maybe even 2 DNFs for him to be back in the championship hunt. So I think realistically speaking for Isabella, unfortunately, her championship fight is pretty much over at this point. I think the best thing for her to focus on now is kind of reclaiming that 4th place result in the standings. She's tied right now with Jason Kitzmiller, but the caveat to that is she had an 18-point penalty after her strong run at Talladega for a technical infringement on her car. But to your point, Emily, she's had in 5 of the last 7 races, she's finished 4th or better. So while she is still searching for that breakthrough victory, she has had some very strong runs in recent races, and that's been great to see for her, given how rough of a start to the season that it was for Isabella Robusto. The fact that she's been able to turn it around and been consistently running 3rd or 4th in these races, which again, a lot of times it's the 28 and the 18 that are running 1st and 2nd. There's not much more you can do beyond that. So it's been a solid first season for her. I think, at least the back half of the year, obviously, like I said, the start of the year was pretty rough, but hopefully she can continue that momentum. We're going to a very difficult track next in Bristol, and you're going to have the combination race with the ARCA Menard Series East as well, and their championship being decided. It's actually Jason Kitzmiller's son, Isaac, that is leading the championship over there. So there's going to be a lot of different elements going on in that race. Might be a little bit more difficult to go out and compete for the win in that particular race for Isabella or for even somebody like LeVar Scott. But I think once we get to the final 3 races of the year, we just focus on the National ARCA Tour. We're going to be going back to Kansas, one of the very few tracks that ARCA, in fact, I think it might be the only track that ARCA goes to twice in one season, at least from a national tour. So she's going to have, a lot of a huge desire, I think, to earn a little bit of redemption based on what happened in the first race of the year, getting spun on the last lap and DNFing in that race. She's going to have a lot of pressure on her to overcome that and get a better finish in their second visit to the track this year. And then, we'll see what she can do over the last 3 or 4 races here. But it's been a solid season. I'm sure, Isabella would have liked to have picked up a win by now, but, even if a championship isn't a realistic opportunity for her at this point, she's still got a few more races to go out and potentially accomplish just that. And hopefully hang on to 4th place in the standings like I was talking about.
Yeah, and she's truly given us some great moments. To your point, as a woman who grew up watching NASCAR, to see a woman stand at the podium at Talladega was just still one of my favorite moments of the motorsport season overall. So we are excited to recap it with you, Ben, following Bristol, and to see where she stands after that next race. But until then, I think we're ready to wrap up our show here. So let's bring Joe back in so we can have some final thoughts and talk about our shining moment of the week.
Yes, it's that point where we all shine our shining moment from the motorsports world. Encourage everyone watching, type in your shining moment. Emily, starting with you, what was your shining moment?
Well, similar to Ben, and I'm going to let him have this moment. I was we know what we're going to say what was our shining moment of the week, but given I was so critical of Maya Woog in our last episode and saying if she's out of it, she's out of it, she's out of it, and while she may mathematically still be a contender, I do believe that Doriane will still be able to secure her championship. What a great moment for Maya Woog also to just completely turn things around and just show that true athletic mentality, that she's still a fighter, and she still came in and dominated Zandvoort with her pole starting position, and to secure that second race win for herself. So she was the best finishing Ferrari last weekend. So great to see from Maya Woog.
Well, Emily mentioned it. I think the ultimate shining moment of the weekend when it comes to women in motorsport is Nina Gademan's victory at Zandvoort. And I've said enough about her on both the Encore show and this episode here today. So I just want to read what she shared on Instagram that had me very emotional, had I think everybody very emotional based on what she accomplished this past weekend. She said, "This moment is more than a race win. It's proof that I never gave up. Years ago, I was forced to step away from racing. It felt like the end of everything I had worked for. I remember 2 years ago standing at the Dutch Grand Prix as a fan, watching from the outside, wishing for just one more chance. Last year, that chance came. I entered F1 Academy as a wild card and left my mark as the best wild card the series had ever seen so far. And now, another year later, we've done it. My first win in single-seaters, something I've dreamed about since I was a kid. This weekend showed how fragile racing can be. With my injury, every lap has been a battle. On Friday, I was declared unfit, and it felt like the whole weekend was slipping away. But after more checks, I was cleared to race. Less than 12 hours later, I won a race. This is a moment I'll never forget, not because it was easy, but because it was almost impossible. I'm endlessly grateful to my team, Alpine, and everyone close to me who never stopped believing, even when I struggled to believe myself. This win is for all of us, and it's only the beginning." And that is Nina Gademan after her victory this weekend. That is my one shining moment that I think is everybody's one shining moment from this past weekend in F1 Academy.
Without a doubt, I think that is everyone's shining moment. Being a little creative, the other shining moment for me from that weekend, Lonnie Unser, Watkins Glen, first Porsche Sprint Challenge North America victory. This girl has a lot of potential to get the Sprint Challenge win with a Porsche ride. What an effort by her at Watkins Glen International, which is a very tough track, a historic track with a lot of racing history. See her cross the finish line first. What an effort by her.
And Joe, if you don't mind, I do have a couple more I want to share from Marco. Sorry, I just got so caught up in Nina's post there. Didn't know how to transition that, but like I said, it's been a while since I've been on this show, and I'm thankful as always for the opportunities, Joe. So I appreciate being able to join you and Emily here this afternoon. I do want to highlight a couple of other names that have stood out to me in ARCA. Obviously, Hailie Bryson made her oval debut at Madison, getting another chance in that Cook Racing Technologies number 17 car. And I'm glad she got that opportunity because I know Sonoma was a bit of a downer for her, unfortunately, having the mechanical issues, having her car shut off several times. She was able to run almost all the laps. I think she finished 2 down to the leader, but still came away with a strong 8th place finish. So a solid oval debut for her. And then Quinn Davis is driving the Goulet family, Tim and Rita's Rise Motorsports outfit. She's driving that 31 car, which does not have nearly the backing or the funding or the sponsorship of some of the bigger teams in this series. And I think she has continued to do a great job of getting as much out of that car as you can realistically expect. She's finished all the races that she's run. She had a very strong debut, 9th at Nashville Fairgrounds in the East Series earlier this year. And she was in that Madison race as well this past, or not this past weekend, but since I've been on the air, at least, she was in that same race with Hailie Bryson and finished not too far behind her, actually, in 12th place, which, again, I think was kind of you can almost consider that like a class win or a moral victory in many respects, given how far the gap is between the funding of some of the bigger teams and smaller teams in that series. So well done to both of those two drivers, worthy of another shining moment over there as well.
A lot of shining moments across motorsports. Encourage everyone to subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our programs. Of course, Grid Encore Monday will be on the air. Grid Tonight. We had a busy grid tonight. I bet you, Emily, you were following all the IndyCar silly season that day.
I can't wait. I feel like there's more to come still.
A lot more to come. I mean, we're going to be waiting to see what comes around the corner Monday, Tuesday, and might be another 40 minutes to talk about IndyCar silly season again. So a lot to follow with that. Then, of course, the Grid Live race weekend. We got Bristol. Then we'll wrap it all up next Sunday. So encourage everyone to subscribe, hit that bell icon. If you have not seen any of our coverage from Portland from the IndyCar race or the NASCAR Xfinity Series, check that out. All that made possible through our Patreon investors calling the show, Mark, Robin, David, and Matthew for investing in us. Link in the video description to our Patreon page where you could make your monthly investment. And once again, subscribe, hit that bell icon. Easiest way to support us. And visit gridnetworktv.com. For Emily and Ben, I'm Joe. Thank you for watching today's program. We'll see you next time.